Some very interesting news came to light that involves a very popular fitness influencer whom I'm sure you've all seen at some point, the Liver King. He's most known for his videos eating raw meat, raw organs, raw testicles even, which goes so hard. And he preaches the ancestral primal way of living and says that you can achieve his ungodly physique, and his body does look like something straight out of Dragon Ball Z or Baki the Grappler. He says you can achieve that 100% naturally by following his 9 tenets. And he is also a very successful businessman. He has tons of companies under his belt that he claims makes him over $100 million a year. And just a couple days ago, much like my ass after eating spicy food, a big leak happened. Emails between the Liver King and a coach that he was turning to for some advice have now hit the public eye, and these emails indicate some juice usage here, and some pretty expensive juicing at that, which completely goes against everything he preaches because he vehemently defends his body being natural. He has said millions of times now across tons of podcasts, his own content, saying he has never touched this stuff and never would. He is 100% natural. But now we have a lot of evidence to suggest that that's completely false and just a blatant lie. Now, this is probably the least shocking news you've ever heard because anyone with eyes should be able to look at the Liver King's body and immediately deduce that this is not a naturally achievable physique in any universe. And especially not for someone of his age, mid-40s, he'd have to have had genetics gifted straight from Mount Olympus. And most fitness professionals have called him out over the years saying that he's juiced to the gills. And I mean, just look at him. Like, I could swim in his veins. They're so fucking huge. Like, this man has more sauce in his body than a Chick-fil-A. Even when he's sitting down, just look at his abs. His six-pack is more defined than 4K television, and they have more depth than a Game of Thrones season. It's beyond me how anyone ever believed that his body was naturally achieved. It's been very clear and has been called out many times that he is absolutely on the gear. But a lot of people just wanted to believe in the teachings and hope that they could get something similar. But realistically, the only way you get a body similar to the Liver King's is if you somehow get chosen for the Captain America Super Serum or start cycling some very heavy-duty stuff here. Now, what you're looking at here is everything that Liver King said he'd been taking. This is part of the emails with the coach. And if you want a more in-depth breakdown of what all of this is, More Plates, More Dates, which is the channel that broke all of this, goes into very good detail about what all of this is. So you can see there is a lot that he's taking here, and from what I've read, this comes around to about $15,000 a month worth of these enhancements, these unnatural enhancements to get him his body. And I want to be clear here, I'm not just vilifying anyone who uses steroids or anything to help them achieve their fitness goals. I think that's totally within their own right as a personal choice that they make. Yes, of course, it's dangerous, but it's their choice, and who am I to stop them from doing that? If they get medical supervision, of course, that's going to help. The problem that I have here, as well as many other people, is that he's selling a lie. He's blatantly lying, saying that what I have achieved is naturally achievable if you just follow my 9 ancestral tenets, none of which contributed to the HGH that he was boofing up his fucking asshole here to get him these incredible results. Like, none of that is what he is selling. He's not selling any of these steroids, he's selling hopium.
If you want to be a top king, if you want unlimited access to cars, money, and if you want to find your queen, then you have to fuel your efforts with ancestral supplements, liver, beef organs, and bone marrow with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because liver is king. And you already know, with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, always gonna have a whole feast protein shake.
This is a clip from More Plates, More Dates, who made an amazing breakdown on this entire situation that I highly recommend. I'm going to put a link to it in the description. But I wanted to show you one of his advertisements for some of his brands here. And I just feel like this is super scummy because he's making it sound like these supplements, you know, are really helpful to getting you jacked like me, the Liver King, whose nipples could probably shoot milk fucking 50 yards away with how big my pecs are. Like, he's making it seem like he got huge from these things, and now he's revealing these secrets and selling them to you so you can get big and strong like him. But that's not really the whole story, clearly. It seems like he had a lot of help from a old human growth hormone over here. It's not really the supplements he's selling that worked for him. it's the goddamn HGH and everything else that he was taking. So it just seems like he's selling all of these dietary supplements knowing full well they're not exactly necessary, and it seems like it's done just to squeeze a couple extra dollars out of his audience here. But I don't think everything he's done or said is harmful. Of course, all of the raw meat eating shit is pretty dangerous. Like, that's not optimal. That's not good advice to just go out there and eat fucking raw meat. Like, you should, especially not raw testicles. I don't think anyone should be listening to the Liver King and start panicking like, holy shit, I want to get huge biceps and a fucking bulging turtle shell six pack. I'm gonna go run outside right now and skin a squirrel and eat the balls off of it raw. Like, none of that I think is good advice, of course, and of course none of his like primal stuff really matters. Like, your mindset of being a primal man's not going to all of a sudden make you jacked or anything, but he does give just like wholesome life advice, which I suppose could be motivational or inspirational to some people that need to hear those things about like having a more positive frame of mind and a positive approach to living life and making time for yourself and having fun, which is all very cliche and not exactly profound stuff, but he does sprinkle those things in, which is just generally decent advice, like making sure you're taking care of your mentality first and foremost, and not just for gains, but for the sake of just better overall living. Like, all of that advice, I think, is fine. It's more so when he gets into this stuff where he's, of course, blatantly hiding that he does have a past of using steroids and is very much still on those, unnatural boosters and pretending he's not. All of that is a big problem, and all of the stuff he seems to be selling, of course, isn't necessary, and it's not like the key to getting big in the first place. Maybe it helps some people, but it's not exactly as he's advertising it. Now, when it's all said and done, I'm sure there's a lot of people in his audience, a lot of his fans, that probably don't care and probably always knew that he was on gear, and they'll probably still follow the ancestral way of living he preaches because maybe they like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the ancestral shit he talks about, like sleeping on a goddamn block of wood or being afraid of Wi-Fi signals in the house and shit like that. I think that's all just super silly stuff. He became huge in the first place because of his over-the-top raw meat eating and his wild physique. People wanted to look like him because he looks like an absolutely jacked Radagast the Brown from Lord of the Rings. So people bought into his program under the assumption that if they follow this, follow the ancestral tenets, maybe buy from his other companies that all filter from the Liver King overall brand, maybe they too could look like him. But now that this information has come to light, it's clear that what he has achieved with his own body is only replicatable if you also start cycling that kind of juice. Not from following his program or taking his bone marrow supplements. Now, he has had somewhat of a response to this information coming out, but it's a pretty confusing one. According to the Daily Beast, his response was, in a weird way, I'm grateful for the recent events that have shed light on this complicated as fuck topic. He then followed it up by humbly requesting that podcasts have him on to discuss his lifestyle, and then says, I model, teach, and preach a simple, elegant solution called ancestral living, the 9 ancestral tenets, so our people no longer have to suffer so we can collectively express our highest and most dominant form. This is my fight. So really doesn't say much of anything, just drops a fucking nothing burger on the plate, and that meat is raw. Like, there's nothing here. He doesn't really give any information. It seems like he once again wants to squeeze clout out of this situation by openly asking to go on podcasts, which he's made a habit out of. He's been on more podcasts than anyone I've ever seen in my fucking life. Any podcast you can think of off the top of your head, like maybe your local college campus podcast, he's probably been on it. Like, he has been on everything because he openly says, anytime people are talking about me, it's a good thing. Whether it's negative or positive, like there was a whole conspiracy about him potentially having ab implants. He says, you know what, that's great too, if people are talking about me. So he wants as much attention as possible, always has, and even in this situation here, is looking to capitalize off it for the sake of publicity. So I guess maybe when he does go on his next podcast, we'll have more information on his side of things, but as of right now, we don't have a whole lot from him to go off of, but we do have a lot of evidence that I do think is reputable. I don't see a lot of wiggle room for that being fake. I trust the source. I think More Plates, More Dates is very reliable when it comes to information like this, and he delivers a very in-depth look at all of it. Again, I can't recommend his video enough if you're interested in this topic. So yeah, I just wanted to go over this because I've talked about Liver King quite a bit. And I will say, while More Plates, More Dates has convinced me Liver King doesn't have ab implants, I full-heartedly believe he has had ab etching, at the very least, ab etching done. It makes no fucking sense to me how he's able to have such a defined six-pack bulging, bursting from his skin, even while sitting down. That doesn't make sense. It looks like the top of a fucking grill at all times. It looks like it's made out of actual steel. Like, there's just no way. And of course, now it seems like he's been on quite a bit of juice for a while now, but even with that, there's still just no way those abs would work that way. It just makes no sense. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this topic a little bit, and that's about it. See ya.